agenda to go over the county financial summaries and fund balances, and got several budget amendments. The agenda that was sent out originally, we had two that came in from the school system. At the last minute, after that had already been sent out to you, we sent out an email agenda addition for two items from the school board. We'll pick them up at the end of the folder that we have on our agenda here. That's 2021-14101. It's unemployment thing, $1,109, and 2021-14102, which is the roof project over at the middle school for $1,049,170. So we'll take that one up last if that's okay with everyone. The minutes from the last meeting were in your packet. Do we see any deletions or corrections to those? Mr. Walsh?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
We do have a motion to approve with a second. Mr. Harsh? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? They are approved. Got the county financial summaries there. The trustees' balance sheet, there again, we're very early into the year. Anybody have any questions or anything of note that jumped out at you that you have concerns about? On the trial balance from the trustee. Not a lot of difference from last month, I don't think, but nothing that I have of note. Amy, anything that you saw, Mayor, anything that you would like to bring to our attention on it? I didn't have anything else. Any questions about it? Seeing none, we'll move on to the summary financial statement of all your accounts. We're at the end of the second month of the year, and so the figure that you'd be looking at, 16.67%, I believe. There again, things are going to be a little under, a little over, depending on when they get paid during the year. If you look at the 101 general fund, as you go down the lines there, impact fees were a little bit over, and probably the only thing that's a significant note on the 101 fund. I think our sales tax revenues, there again, holding up pretty well. I think we were about 20,000 over for August.
24,000 above last year.
24,000 versus the same month last year. So even with the impact of COVID and the businesses that are closed, we're still seeing an increase. That is primarily due to the internet sales, I believe, being able to come in. Where you see the significance advances on that was in the county portion more so than the city portion. I mean, Mr. Ford.
Right there on the front page, it says we've only collected 12.82%.
It runs a month behind,
It runs a month behind. That's
so
only 1
August
month.
is not included in these particular numbers.
That was, we get those around the 18th, 20th of the month, and that was as of this month. Just want to let everybody know where we were on that. Should have tackled that separately. Figured somebody would ask. Anything in the 101 jumps out at you in the revenue side? Right now, overall, we're at 16.80, which is a little slightly over, or our budget percentage would be at 16.67. So, overall, we're right where we need to be. Going into the one-on-one expenditure side, I think you're gonna find basically the same thing. Running a little bit high because of some of the things that get paid out at the very first part of the year. Any questions or anything on it of note? Anybody wanna question any part of it? And looks pretty much in line. Moving on to the 111, urban services, very much the same situation. Revenues are a little bit up. Expenditures a little bit over for this time of year, and I think that was primarily some of this streetscapes project, I think, affected the numbers in it significantly, if you can notice that. Now, that'll even out in future months. Questions on any of 111 fund?
Building permits are holding up good.
Yep. Okay, 116 solid waste, a little skewed looking because your revenues not coming in. Not sure what the explanation on that is. Just,
A lot of those property taxes won't start being paid until October.
well, on the property tax part of it, yeah. All the rest is in line with what was budgeted. It's really difficult on a lot of these funds, but you know, you've got to get almost 5 or 6 months into them to get any kind of a trend established to stay true to where you're at with them. Any questions on that? 118 ambulance service, same situation. And you get your pass-through accounts, 121, drug fund, all of those are just there for your information. 131 highway fund, there again, look more at your expenditure side to see if the expenditures are aligned with the revenues. Will always look skewed until you start getting your property tax in.
On expenditures, 60.6% other charges, you got any idea what that is?
Where are you at?
Highway fund expenditures.
6,500.
A lot of theirs, they juggle chunks from one category item into subcategories. I don't know if that's what that is or not.
Chances are that's the insurance premiums that are due at the beginning of the year. It's a one-time payment. It's a big chunk.
$151 debt service, page 12. Questions on it? On the 156 education debt service, your wheel tax is a little bit, I think, under the budgeted amount so far. Is it held back a month too?
It is.
So there'll be another month added to that.
got a question.
Uh-huh.
On page 12, of debt service expenditures, I couldn't get in my mind exactly what this meant, but I think it meant we paid $66,000 on administrative bills.
That's what we budgeted to pay them, that's what
Right.
the yearly
And that
payment.
will be in the middle of the year.
Yeah,
What
she
about
is-
on the cars, have we already paid that?
Yes.
What I thought.
The grade in area so that you'll know what that figure entails, when it's actually paid, or that portion of it's paid. If you'll notice over on the actual, you're seeing 47,000, and patrol cars final payment was 47,000.
How much
So that
more-
reflects that was
How much
paid.
more do we owe on the administrative building?
I don't have that
You don't
number.
know that?
I believe it was right at 200, 220.
I can't even venture a guess. I've seen too many numbers today.
I'm not 100% sure. A lot of times we have just that total figure in that line item, we don't really know what it encompasses. And that's why Amy's been including the breakdown of what's included in that figure below it, so that we would know.
Let me ask it this way, do we pay anything on debt above and what we had to pay this past year?
I believe y'all allotted.
No, as we were going through the budget, remember at that time of the year, the comptroller's office was telling us to try to keep your expenditures down, because we weren't sure what the revenues were gonna be. And we said, well, we got later in the year.
Over, I can't hear a word you say.
I said, as we were going through the budget this year, the comptroller's office told us to keep your expenditures down, because you don't know what your revenue is gonna be due to COVID. So we said we'd come back later in the year, once we have a better idea, and see if we're gonna pay off some of that, or what we wanna do, depending on what the revenue numbers look like.
That's understandable.
At what point in time we need to address that, I assume we're thinking the first of the year, or,
Yeah, you wanna see how your property tax payments come in, because UT's economic department is saying you might see more people going into, or falling behind on the property tax payments, given that the unemployment rate's up over what it was earlier this year, so. You might see a decrease as our property tax payments come in.
I think it was our intention that once we saw how the property tax came in for this year, the end of October, November, whatever, even January, to look at that, and if we felt like there was extra funds that we were gonna have, that was one of the areas that we were certainly gonna try to address.
Well, I understand not paying any of it right now, not knowing where we are.
Sir?
I said, I can understand not paying anything on it right now, not knowing where we are.
Right.
I just wanted to know if we had.
No. Mr. Clary?
Didn't the state grant give us $700,000 to spend on what we wanted to do with it? Could we pay off debt with that?
You can use it for a lot of different things. We're gonna have to assess, do we wanna use it for debt, or do you wanna start putting roofs and fixing parking lots and all this maintenance that hasn't been done for years?
I'd rather pay off the debt than go the other way.
That's a decision that'll have to be made.
Because the debt, right now, you're saving all the interest if you pay it off, and then if you borrow a little money to do a parking lot or something like that, it's not gonna amount to as much.
What we've looked at in the past is trying to pay off the ones that have the high interest rates, and we've pretty much accomplished that. We looked at trying to refinance the debts to fixed rates, thought that would save money. Since the rates have dropped, it would actually cost us more to go to a fixed rate than to keep it at the variable rate. So we had decided not to do that right now. And a lot of these will be paying out anyway, where there's gonna be small amounts left that we can retire them and take care of. Just afraid to spend money that you don't have to spend when you're uncertain of what your revenue stream's gonna be. And that was, I thought, what everyone agreed to back during budget time, particularly when we started battling this COVID thing. I mean, we will have that discussion as to where
Yeah.
that money needs to be spent and when and how. Had prepared for it to be tonight, but I guess if we insist to go into it tonight, we can, but I don't think we can come to any decision because we really don't even have a list of what our possibilities are. Mr. Walsh.
Do you know when that might be, Mayor, for that decision to be made?
Well, as I said, you gotta wait for your property tax payments to come in. And if they're correct, then you're gonna see more people falling behind on the property tax payments when you're not gonna see what we saw in past years coming in October and November.
So probably like
And
February.
some of that 700,000 they gave to use to make up revenue shortfalls.
Right.
So until we get further through the year, maybe into January, as like Mr. Jewell said, we won't know what those numbers are gonna look like.
What I was getting to was when that time comes, can you get a list together of all the maintenance stuff we need to do?
Yeah, we're already working on that.
Okay, good deal. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
If we are anticipating such a decline in the economy, would it not make sense to reconsider the fixed rate interest loans?
Most of what we have right now, I think, are variable, are they not?
The big ones that are on the variable, you're actually paying a lower interest rate right now with the variable rate than you would be if you changed it over to a fixed rate. The fixed rate was that maybe at the end of that loan, you would have saved more money because they were projecting the bond rates to keep going up.
At this point, but if the economy is going to decline as the people at UT that we're talking about, would that be something that we might want to reconsider?
You might want to reconsider it sometime in the future, but right now, you're paying much lower. If you do stay on variable, you're going to pay much lower than you switched over to fixed. So your savings right now, if you look historically on some of these things, if you went fixed at the beginning, you actually saved more money over the life of these because they were variable, and as it went down more versus what the fixed would have been. So it might be that we're in a period right now that since all the rates have gone so low, it might stay that low for a period of years, and at the end of that, you would have saved more money staying on variable than you went to fixed. But it's like rolling chicken bones. You don't know what it's going to be until you get to the end of it, whether you save money or not.
But I just think that's something that we need to keep an eye on.
Well, we have been trying to, and I think the bond companies are going to keep us apprised of what we've seen and from what their outlook is. Most of them are saying they expect them to stay very low for 2 to 3 years. Now, that might change, depending on how fast the recovery comes.
Right, they weren't
I mean,
taking
it's like,
COVID either.
but we're always going to be looking at that. We're always going to be monitoring that. But right now, I mean, we can go to a fixed rate and pay more money, but
Well, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that I think we need to keep apprised of the situation, especially if the economy is expected to decline, as people are talking about, and we continue to see such government spending that is in the federal government, that spending money that we don't have, you're going to see that reflected in the local governments.
absolutely, without a doubt. But I do know that the mayor and his office are monitoring that and keeping up with it. I'm trying to, if you can, if you see something happening in the bond market that we don't, bring it to our attention. Much your responsibility is ours.
I agree.
Anything else about that? Let's get into our fund balance summary. We looked at that last month. Were these figures wind up basically what that was last month? Did they change any?
I think you discussed it at steering committee, it wasn't on last month.
Okay, the steering committee, we looked at this.
This is what we've got. They're our final numbers, but they won't be final until after the audit's done.
Okay, so these are the final year ending, but not the audited.
Right.
No. Nothing has changed since we looked at the steering committee.
No.
Okay. So these are the same numbers. I thought they were. I didn't see anything that looked different. Any questions on that? We ran the total. I think we wound up the year total, I believe it was about $11,000 less in total fund balance than we had at the same time last year. Pulling that figure out of my head, but I'm pretty sure that's what we had added to that to be. Some are over, some are under, but overall, that's where we wound up, which I think, with what we dealt with half of the year, that's pretty good, and I applaud the mayor and his staff for keeping us in line on a lot of that, and the department heads worked real hard to try to keep their budgets as low as they possibly could. So, any questions about that? If not, we'll entertain a motion to accept the financial summaries and the trustee reports.
So moved.
Mr. Ford makes a motion, Mr. Walsh has a second. Any other questions about it? Before we move on. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Yeah, that is done, thank you. We get into budget amendments. First one we have is 221-101-02. This is coming out of VA 101-02 library fund. This is some CARES Act grant funding that came in for library supplies and materials. And it's just allocating it to the right line item. Is that correct?
Yes.
Correct explanation. This was for a total of $1,858. It's basically putting it in and giving them a place to take it out.
Motion approved.
Have a motion to approve. A second by Ms. Johnson. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is done. Next one is VAE is 2021-101-03R. This is coming out of the 101 fire reserves. This is $2,970. Fire equipment, there was a in-bridge donation that was received back in 20 that wasn't allocated to a line item. That's basically moving that item forward to be able to purchase these air bottles. Pretty much a bookkeeping, I guess you'd say, item. Any questions on it?
How many you buying?
How many does that buy, Ken? Is that,
We supplemented that $2,970 with another $204 to get 4.
okay.
Move to approve.
Have a motion to approve this fund balance, and a second by Mr. Ford. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is done. And next one is 2021-101-04, and this is also in the fire department. We explained this in steering committee. We've got a new hire with the fire department that also works for the our county government. And the way the personnel policy in that situation is written, they are paid out of the fire department funds, so we didn't put anything in the budget for that contingency because we had nobody in that situation. Now that we have someone in that situation, basically what you're doing is moving what would have been salary so that the salary will show up in the correct department. They're not getting paid anymore, it's just getting paid out of 2 different departments. I don't feel like I explained that real well.
It's still within the fire department, it's just moving basically object codes is what we call them, line items.
It just wasn't budgeted.
It wasn't budgeted in the fire department budget, it's their money. It's just showing it in these line items to be able to handle this. There again, it's an auditing type situation and trying to comply with that as well as the way our personnel policy says these
But
things.
everybody not be used.
This one probably will be because we have hired somebody, but that's why it wasn't done before, because it was nobody in this circumstance.
Boy,
Yes,
this is a new hire for the public works department, and you're covering the money when he goes on calls to cover the fire department calls.
right.
Not a fire department employee, it's a public works new hire.
Yes, but it's moving money in the fire department budget to be able to pay him for that time in the fire department budget. To me, and probably to a lot of y'all, it's semantics. It doesn't make any sense. It's strictly for auditing purposes.
In other words, instead of paying this individual out of public works, it's coming out of fire department.
When he goes on calls.
That's what
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve in a second by Mr. Walsh, Mr. Clarity, Mr. Walsh. Any other discussion, any other questions about this? Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is done. Okay. Next one we have is 221-10105. And this is amendment to the 101 County General Fund in the Senior Citizens Center. There again, this is some CARE Acts grant funding that came in specifically for Senior Citizens Center, $22,500. And this is bringing the money in and putting it in their budget and other supplies and materials so that they can use it. Money in, money out.
Motion approved.
Have a motion by Mr. Ford to approve. Second by Ms. Jones. Any other discussions or questions? Yes, sir.
Do we have any idea how many people this is going to, what that would be divided out to or whatnot? Any idea on that, please?
I believe she is helping about 14 or 15 individuals at the moment.
Okay.
They're kind of still in limbo right now. They're not fully functioning. And a lot of the things they're trying to do because of that require some special things that they don't normally have. So this money will help them be able to accomplish those things.
You know, they're taking meals and other items to people who are in their homes and can't come to the Senior Citizen Center. So they're using this grant money to help them while they're in their homes, kind of self-isolating. So they're a high-risk population, so they're at home, and like I said, this is delivering meals and personal items to them.
Any other questions about it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see what we have a problem with.
I wouldn't have a problem, I just kind of where we.
Yes, I understand. Good question, good question. Sometimes without the department head being here, we really can't answer.
I don't think we're even leak down there a lot.
Some things, but very few. Anything else? Did I have a motion?
Yes.
I did?
Yeah,
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion does carry. Move this forward. Okay, one more, 2021-101-06 FB. This is amending the County General Fund 101. This is for a part-time administrative assistant in the building inspection and codes office. This position will help with paperwork, scheduling of clerical work. Requested this position would be hired at approximately $13 an hour and work 24 to 25 hours a week. This had been brought up at budget time because of the uncertainty of the budget. We had tried to defer this as long as we could. I feel like the time has come to look at this, and the mayor's brought it to our attention. So, questions about it? Everybody understand what we're doing, trying to get Sam an assistant?
Make a motion, we approve.
Have a motion by Mr. Ford and a second by Mr. Harsh. Any other discussion, any other questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ms. Carey? Move these on. F2 that came over from school board. We actually had quite a few come from the school board, and we'd asked Dr. Stafford if we needed to address all of them, or this month, or some of them could wait till next month. And these were the two that really needed to be added to this month's agenda, is why we have these. There'll probably be,
Nine more.
I was gonna say 10 more, 9 or 10 more for next month, but they weren't as pressing as these issues were. So the first one we have is 2021-14101. This is on unemployment compensation. You trust, Dr. Satterfield, you can probably explain it a lot better than I can what this is.
We're in a consortium where we pay our unemployment into a consortium that draws interest. And then when we have an unemployment claim, the consortium pays the unemployment claims. What's happened during the spring closure was some employees took unemployment during the COVID closure, and they used federal monies. You know, we got some reimbursement, but now the trust says that since we paid your unemployment during that time, that grant money that came to the school board goes to the trust. So they just want us to send them the money that's due to them, is the Fed sent it to us instead of the trust. What is it, about $1,900?
$1,109.
Yeah, and there would be more, you know, there could be more down the road.
Later, this was from April, May, and June.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, there may be more, depending on how many unemployment claims that you receive along this time.
So basically, they got a refund, or it showed up as a refund, and this is where it's gonna be spent in their unemployment compensation. There again, it's passed through, it's their money, no new money being allocated here. Any questions about it? We have a motion. Ms. Johnson?
Make a motion.
Have a motion to approve. Mr. Gregory makes a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Next one we have is the funding for the Jim Satterfield Middle School roof project. And this is in the bond issue, the total bond issue, and then you have to move that into your capital outlay projects line item category for building improvements. This is total. What's allocated may not all be spent. There's some contingency money in this. $1,049,170. Mr. Walsh.
Dr. Stafford, is it an update on the progress or anything right now?
They're on site. They started on the north end of the building, which is the area around the gymnasium, the 6th grade wing, and then the 8th grade wing. They've moved, they've got the spine all the way down to the library area. And I have not been on the roof this week, but they're supposed to start laying sheet metal on that this week.
They were today.
They were, okay.
The truss is, you can see those pretty easily if you go by.
Yeah, if you go down Andrews or White Oak beside the library, you can see those spines up really well. The red metal.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any comment on this? Does this look like the right amount?
I'm getting numbers from him.
Okay, well, I know.
That's the amount of the loan, and you're sending it because you guys decided to send it to us to make the payment.
Right, we have to transfer it to you because you're hiring the firm and everything to do it, so.
So we're just taking money out of that revenue account, put it in the capital outlay. And the reason we wanted to expedite this month is we expect an invoice.
Any other questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Second by Ms. Johnson. I'm sorry. Any other questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Move that on to the full body. Amy, was there any more? Did I get them all?
I think you have them all.
Okay. Dr. Satterfield, appreciate those others holding over because we did have quite a few others this month, and pretty big docket. Was any other items of discussion for tonight? Any comments? Y'all, any commissioners have any questions, comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
The building committee had sent to Budget and Finance and asked them to figure a way to pay for the windows at the courthouse and asked me to do an RFP. I followed up with the Greater National Regional Council and the Tennessee Historical Commission. They strongly recommended that we have a historical structure report done before we do any work on that building because it is in a National Register Historic District. And given that it is a historic building, you have to have some kind of assessment done on those windows before you replace them. So that was their strong recommendation. I'm asking this committee to send that back to the building committee so that we can work through that process and get that done.
Anybody understand what he's saying? Mr. Moore?
Motion to send it back to the building committee.
Okay, we have a motion to send it back to building, and a second by Ms. Jones. Any other discussion on it? Do we have any idea what this, or who will do this analysis?
Not until you get the RFP, we have to put that together, send it out. These companies that do that kind of work will put in a proposal, then we'll go through it and pick a firm.
Process.
Ms. Harsh, you're chairman of that committee. You comfortable with that?
Yes, we'll schedule a meeting.
Okay. Anything else?
All those in favor?
Pardon?
You got a motion and a second?
Yes.
You can go
Any
on.
other questions about it? Any other discussion about it? Have a motion and a second, send it back to building committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is done. Thank you, Mayor. Anything else?
No, sir.
Mr. Walsh?
Make motion adjourned.
Mr. Second. Any of our public want to make a comment? Do we have any comment from the public before we adjourn? Sir?
Are you going to rec officers?
Not planning to, not tonight.
Next step.
Okay. We haven't set the committees yet. We haven't really approved them yet. They're not going to change, but we haven't approved them. Rather next month. Okay. Have a motion to adjourn and a second. All in favor, please say aye.